Our region's business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, we're traveling the turnpike to Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, to check up on a couple of big issues: state and municipal pension reform and the expansion of a neighborhood assistance program that's helping to strengthen communities across our region. Plus, we'll get some tips on building a small business from the founder of a company that's celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. But first, we're off to Harrisburg. Every spring, the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce and the Allegheny Conference on Community Development conduct a joint executive session in the Capitol to make the case for issues of importance to both of Pennsylvania's major urban areas. They hear from and talk with policymakers and lawmakers from across the Commonwealth. The partnership got its start about 7 years ago when Rob Wunderling and Dennis Yablonsky took the helms of their respective organizations.
When we first started, and these numbers are not exact, I would say probably half of our respective agendas overlapped, the other half didn't. And now it's probably north of 90% of the work we do at the state we do together, and we work our way through and reach a mutual agreement on how we want to proceed and what the issues are.
Well, yeah, you know, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh strike me as very different places. So what do you find you have in common to be able to come down here and advocate for?
Well, I'll give you a great example, and that is where we're 110% aligned is the opportunity that our abundant energy resources are providing for the future of this Commonwealth. The Marcellus Shale and the Utica play with natural gas. It's an abundant resource to service and fuel a rebirth of our manufacturing economy, export economy, and small business economy as well.
We don't have a lot of rules, but one of the rules is we try not to talk sports, and that's why we're able to get along well.
That's exactly right.
One big topic of conversation this year, in addition to timely completion of a state budget, was state and municipal pension reform. Laura Ellsworth is back with us. She's chair of the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce and partner in charge with Jones Day, a global law firm. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Yeah, kind of an interesting effort by Philadelphia and Pittsburgh to sort of go with a united front to Harrisburg. Do you think it makes a difference?
Oh, I think it makes a big difference because it's a statewide problem. It's not a Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, nor is it a big city versus little city. It is a statewide problem that we have. And in fact, 66 out of 67 counties have some township with a municipal pension problem.
So there's a municipal issue here, and then there's the state issue as well. So the state's got its pension problems, and then so many municipalities are dealing with similar issues. So they all have the same root cause?
They do. So what we're talking about on the state side is we're talking very simply about people who work for the state of Pennsylvania. Largely teachers, but state workers. What we're talking about on the municipal side is other public employees, like firemen, policemen, other people who work in our local communities. And the question is, how do we pay for the pension commitments that have been made to all of those people for decades?
And these have gradually built and built and built over time, right?
That's right, because we have in Pennsylvania what are called defined benefit plans, which means there is a set amount of money that you pay to these people upon their retirement decades hence. And so the way you would do it, just like any family would save to meet a big anticipated financial commitment like a college tuition's on my mind these days, right? What would you do? You would put money in a bank account and hope that it earned a certain amount of interest over your child's life so that there was enough money there at the end to meet a commitment. That's what we were supposed to do in Pennsylvania, but two things happened. One thing is we didn't put enough money away for decades. The second thing that happened is the money didn't increase enough in interest because of some of the financial challenges that everybody knows we've had over the last few years. The net result is there isn't enough money in the account to pay the obligations of these pensions for these people. We have to do something about that because we have obligations to meet and the money isn't there.
Well, and I had an opportunity while I was in Harrisburg last week to talk with Speaker of the House Mike Turzai about the issue. A lot of differences of opinion about how to move it forward, but I did have a chance to ask him about both the state and municipal pension issues, so let's see what he has to say.
We have always spelled in the House that for new hires you have to move to a defined contribution plan or something akin to a defined contribution plan.
Do you think municipal pension reform can be part of this, or is there still hope out there?
I see it as a 1-2 step. I do think you have to address the municipal pensions as well, but we have to address both the state employee pensions and the school employees, which is a local pension system, as you know.
Also talked with Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto about the municipal pension reform issue and whether taking this step by step is going to be fast enough for him.
Well, it not only takes a big percentage of the budget, but that percentage is growing every year. And sort of like having a boat with a hole in it and having a bucket that's smaller than the hole, we can't dig ourselves out. People don't realize this. We are mandated by state laws to provide pensions to our employees under the conditions that the state places upon us. So without state assistance, we have no ability to manage our pensions. What we're asking for is the ability to keep the promise to every worker that we made that that pension will be there. And I'm one of those workers. I have 22 years in working with the city, and I want to be here for a few more. But under the present situation, as the mayor, I only have one option, which is raising taxes to be able to make up for this deficit, or cutting services. I don't think that we need to do either. I think we need to have some common sense reforms put into place and to be able to guarantee our workers their pension and guarantee our residents they won't have to see a lack of services or an increase of taxes to make up for it.
We've been talking about this for years, so what do you think it's going to take to actually get something done?
I think that if we can pull people into a room, and that's the key, Democratic leaders in the Senate and the House, Republican leaders in the Senate and the House, the mayors from across Pennsylvania, and the governor. We have two bills that are in committee right now that have both been sponsored by Republican leaders. We have a report through our Auditor General that basically has an outline of a plan as well. If we can work in the middle and work between those two plans and work with real numbers, what would this mean for Scranton? What would it mean for Johnstown and Harrisburg? What does it mean in Erie and Pittsburgh? And be able to show what will work, then we have a chance to get this passed.
I guess no matter how fast it moves, this is something that has to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, it absolutely does. This isn't an option anymore. It is a situation where there are cities and communities that have gone bankrupt, that have had no money to pay for things like police and fire and other things in the real world, because all of their money is going to pay these obligations that they didn't save enough for. So just like any family that has obligations that they need to make that they didn't save enough for, everything else suffers. And that's going to happen at the state level, it's going to happen at the municipal level, it's going to cause problems with people who rate our bonds and charge us interest on the money we borrow. This is not a problem that we can close our eyes to and ignore.
And I take it this is going to remain a top priority for the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce in Harrisburg.
It absolutely is, because it defines everything else. If the money's gone, there's no use talking about what you're going to spend money on for your community.
All right, Laura Ellsworth, Chair of the Chamber, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah. Next up, strengthening communities across our region and how a state tax credit is making a big difference for many of them. Stay with us.